Welcome to Fore Yore Lore. I'm your host, John Adamick. It's my pleasure today to welcome Sean Noroña, Kiahni Glasthal, Melissa Lozada, and Abby Lowry, who are all here as part of the team for Outerbound, a film that's going to be released in the near future and is currently wrapping up production. It's a joy to have you all here today. I'm going to go ahead and start with Sean. Sean, I had the pleasure of meeting you and getting to know you a little bit during the production of your last film, a short independent film, Blackout, which was a fantastic success. And I understand, and we'll talk about it briefly, it's continuing to grow, which I knew it would. But for those who haven't seen Blackout and who are not familiar with Sean's work, Sean Noroña is a 32-year-old Latino filmmaker based in Greensboro, North Carolina. His Ecuadorian parents, according to Sean, have always been encouraging him from a very young age. Sean says it was ingrained in him that if he wanted to make something happen, the only person who could go out and do it was himself. Sean, I'm going to ask you to talk about the script for Outerbound, how you came across it, connected with that with your friend, and how you saw your vision and how it's unfolded so far through production and where you think it should go in post-production. I also appreciate the fact that you've made it very clear, and I know you're sincere about this, that you are really celebrating your team, the talented folks that you have surrounded yourself with. And quite frankly, I think your reputation makes it so that people want to work with you. I know I've seen that with the folks that I know that were on Blackout and other social media interactions. So, Sean, I'm really grateful that you'd make time for me again. Say a few words and welcome your team.
Yeah, no, I'm really happy to be here. Happy to be working on another project. Today I have with me Abby Lowry, who is my assistant director on Outerbound. We have Melissa Lozada, who is one of our stars, and Kiahni Glasthal, who is also a star of Outerbound. And I've enjoyed working with everyone, and it's been an amazing time.
That's excellent. I'm so grateful y'all made time to come. I know y'all have been busy. So we're going to go around now briefly, and just each of you, if you could share a little bit about where you're at in your career. It could be scholastic, professional, combination, and how you connected with Sean for Outerbound. We'll go ahead and start with Abby.
Yes, so I am the assistant director on the set of Outerbound, and this position has been a great milestone for my career. I just graduated from UNC Greensboro with a degree in media studies, so I'm extremely proud of that and have been just elated to take the skills that program has provided me and the experience from doing projects during school and working throughout that time and being able to implement that into my role for Outerbound. With that, this role has opened up some other opportunities as well, so I've just been so pleased with being able to be a part of this and to be able to add that to my accomplished list.
For those who don't know UNCG, it's the University of North Carolina, Greensboro, one of the 17 schools in the University of North Carolina system. And my family's one of our two favorites, since my son went to state and my daughter went to UNCG. The Spartans, am I getting that right?
Yeah, go Spartans.
Yeah, go Spartans, that's right. And it's obvious from talking to each of you that what I saw years ago when I first toured and got to meet the chancellor in new parent orientation has come to fruition, that we have outstanding talent that's going to be going out and representing across the world. So thank you so much, and Abby, we're so glad that you're here. Congratulations on your graduation.
Thank you.
How do you feel about that?
It's amazing, especially being a first-generation college student, too. It's
Wow.
just awesome to be able to show that accomplishment to everybody, and a huge shout-out to every single person that helped me get there.
Okay, we've got here Kiahni.
Hi, my name is Kiahni Glasthal. I play Barbara in Outerbound. And actually, I was a transfer student a couple of years ago coming into UNCG, University of North Carolina, Greensboro. And I just had such a blast there, and I learned a lot. And so I kind of started my acting journey more from like an educational standpoint, but now that I had just recently graduated as well, I'm focusing more on doing it professionally. And coming into contact with Sean was actually by chance because he was actually looking for people to be casted in the film, like putting like through Facebook and like through advertising for it. And I happened to find it on Facebook. It was kind of just by chance, and then just applying through there and auditioning and everything, and it just happened the way it happened magically. And I'm so grateful ever since that happened. So yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing that, Kiahni. That's fantastic. Melissa.
Hi, my name is Melissa Lozada, and I play Mia in Outerbound. I also have recently graduated from UNC Greensboro. I graduated last December, so we're currently filming in summer of 2024, in case y'all are watching in the future. And in terms of my career, this is the point in my life where it's kind of branching out from where I've always stayed. Right. I am primarily a stage actor. I grew up doing musical theater. I've been doing it, this is my 10th year doing it now. I went to school for it. I minored in musical theater. I got to do some shows in my college career, which was a very, very fortunate to do. And now that I've graduated, I've been stepping outside of my comfort zone with voiceover work and with film and starting to do commercial and other kinds of art that I hadn't really had the chance to experience before. And working on this film and meeting Sean in particular was very key in making that switch. And I'm still doing musical theater, but it's just now adding more things into my arsenal. And with Sean, and this is very important, Sean is how we met is also pretty much by chance also. I come in and I meet him, we're vibing, we're having a good time, and he's like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm putting my film up and I'm having auditions. I would love for you to audition if you're interested. And so I was like, of course, absolutely. I love like trying new things and stepping out of my comfort zone. So I read the script and I love the story, especially considering that one of the main focuses that Sean wanted for the film was to have two leads that were of Latin descent, that were Latino, Latinx, Latina. Okay. And so I thought that was extremely important as someone who is Latina, having that kind of representation, because that's sorely lacking, especially with that intention behind that. So sure. I already off the bat was super interested, read the script, auditioned for Mia and for Barbara, and then I got the email. I don't even know how long it took, but afterwards I got the email that I got Mia, and I was really excited. And then we just, I found out. So the funny thing is that me and Kiahni, we, like UNCG is not that big. So I think of it more like a high school. Somehow you tend to know everybody from everywhere. Mm-hmm. Kiahni and I were in an a cappella group in college. Shout out No Control, if it's still alive. And so I finally got the news, like everyone was cast at this point. And I read the cast list, and I saw Kiahni. I was like, that name looks really familiar. And then we come in to do our chemistry reads, and I see Kiahni, and I realize, like, oh, you're going to be my co-star.
Wow.
So we found out we were going to be co-stars together, and that was another way that we got to be closer. Because we had always known each other, and, like, we had been in rehearsals and doing things like that. And, she was also, what was it, BA drama that you majored in? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so she was in the theater department, so I had known her from that, too. So from being in this project, we got a lot closer as a result. So... the joys of being connected via your school, so really shout out UNCG for that.
Yeah, that's right. Sean, if you would, go ahead and kind of describe Outerbound and what your goals were with that.
Yeah, I can start by saying where the script came from and then kind of delve into, like, lightly what the whole story is about. So a while back, again, back in college, I met a friend. His name is Nathan Rohan. And he's a very, very talented writer. I had a roommate who was in like a lab class with him, and they told me, my friend's a writer. I want you to read his work. You guys might vibe. And so I did take a look at a script that he sent over, and it was absolutely incredible. It was like a high school drama comedy. It was almost like if Quentin Tarantino had written like a high school movie.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so that was cool. And so we became friends, and later on he started writing Outerbound, and it was based a little bit on some of his experiences and just kind of diving into, a little bit outside of his comfort zone, writing, female characters and all that. And I really, really liked the script, and I told him I like this so much that I want to save it for when I have the means and ability to make a feature.
Okay.
So we kind of set it aside for a while, and last year we ended up picking it back up. And I, after Blackout, which was my kind of like dipping my feet in like the water to kind of get used to being on like film sets and like directing again, it was really good practice for me, and I was like, I want the next thing I do to be a feature. So we took the script back up and started reworking it and, trying to update it for modern audiences, but also just make sure that it was really, really strong. And once we finally had it polished, we shared it with our group. So I was simultaneously working on the script while trying to get the right people together, like the cast and the crew. So it was a lot of things to juggle. But for those who don't know what Outerbound's about, it's a coming-of-age story that I like to call a romanticized comedy. It's a little bit funny. There's a little bit of romance in there. There's a lot of just dealing with people growing up. It's centered around two young women who lead very different lives, and they're both on their own journeys. And it's kind of how their stories intersect with each other, how they deal with family issues, how they deal with, their own personal demons. We touch on subjects like financial insecurity, anxiety, depression, and just kind of balancing all the things in your life as you enter that stage of adulthood.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thinking about several things. One of the things, and I want to get back to the script in a minute and then talk a little bit more about your vision for this. As a writer, and that's my primary, I would say, calling in regards to creating, I'm always open and excited by nuances within a script that stand out, that really, really catch. And I'm still learning how to format scripts and things like that. So how that translates to the screen, to me, is very interesting. When I read a script, think, okay, how would somebody make that come to life, and what is their vision for that? I want to step back for just a moment about Blackout, because I think that's really important in terms of the depth of your or the range of your skills as a director. And one of the reasons why, quite frankly, when I heard you were working on this project, I don't know you that well, but I had come off watching Blackout, and I was like, all right, Sean's going to be Michael Bay. You're going to be up there just making one after another of these hit action movies. I'm going to be spending all my money, Mission Impossible, all that stuff, watching these shows. Just for the rest of you. So Nicole, who was the lead in Blackout, I was in a Duke University film with her. We acted, and I met her, and I was just like blown away. She's like way past anything I could bring to the table for acting. And then Paula, who was her foil in that movie, is with Argonne Corps combat choreography, and my daughter Caitlin had gone to one of their seminars down in Wilmington, and so I had come to appreciate both. So I was like, well, I know these people. I really want to learn about this film. What you did with that, though, Sean, and what I learned about your vision and how you brought that forth, that's a whole universe in and of itself. And so it would have been really easy, and I understand you probably got some other things you're working on. Most creatives have multiple projects, but like I was like, all right, when's the full length coming and all that? But then I saw you're doing this film. And I was like, all right, well, there's got to be a reason. And so you've explained some of that. What is it about a romanticized comedy that appeals to you in this point in your career?
So I am one of those people that just watches dozens of movies, and I love so many different genres. I don't live in just one. So even though Blackout is something that I really loved to do, and it was a great experience. I want to make sure as an artist that I can tell stories of all genres. I want to be able to go into comedy. I want to be able to go into dramas. I want to do sci-fi one day. And I don't want to be in some kind of box. So with Outerbound, again, it was always in my head that I wanted to make this movie. And even as we were finishing up Blackout, I started, reworking that script and starting to find talent and putting those audition opportunities out there. But yeah, the things that appeal to me about a romanticized comedy is like I've seen a lot of romantic comedies. I've seen a lot of coming of age stories. What I wanted to bring to this was a style similar where, it's not quite a drama. It's not quite a comedy, but it has this kind of lens that you look at everything where the city you're living in is its own character. It's beautiful. The moments between people, you kind of like extra romanticize, and also kind of keep it light. And I think that's something that I fell in love with watching movies, and I want to bring that to this project.
That's great. I'm thinking Sleepless in Seattle, When Harry Met Sally, some of these other like classic, rom-com, I guess is another phrase for it. And I always enjoy that. And I think there's some movies that can do that very, very well. And I think that there seems to be difficulty for directors to be able to switch, almost ambidextrous, if you will, to be able to switch from the intense action movie to the stylized drama. And as you were talking about the serious points, but also the light and capturing the heart of the environment that you're in. That's great stuff. I want to touch briefly here about something you guys said, Kiahni and Melissa, about chemistry, and then I want to get back to you, Abby, in just a minute, talk a little bit about the production and how you were getting used to working with Sean in this environment. So if you want to be thinking about that. Chemistry. So I was reading this, and the plot, there's all these nuances in there that I think will really come out in the film. For you guys, I was reading this, and I thought, oh, this would be kind of like a couple of friends. You've got the meeting and kind of the development, the formation of the friendship and so forth. But then there's some really intense moments in there. And I know that, like you were saying, Sean, the film captures the change between developing autonomy and sense of self and really expressing that in the vocational aspect of a person's life, coming out of the scholastic career to the vocational career. How did you two develop chemistry, and was that apparent during the chemistry read?
Well, I think we had the benefit of already knowing each other before we started. Yeah. But I think our chemistry developed over time. We had a couple of days of filming where we would have a couple scenes together, or maybe me and one of our other actors, Patrick, because he's my love interest in the film. We would have scenes together, and she and her love interest, the actor's name was Cole. They would have their scenes together. But a lot of the time we would have our scenes together, and we would spend our days filming and, having our banter in between when, we're in between takes and whatnot. But I think we had recently, not this last day of filming, I think the previous one, we had a chance to just hang out one-on-one. And I got to meet her mom and her brother because I was staying over at her apartment, and we just got to talk, and I think we stayed up talking till 4:00 in the morning. Literally. So I think it also helps that just our personalities just seem to mesh really well. Just liking to talk about different experiences that we've had, and even relating to the film. There was a conversation we had with her mom. We were having dinner, and I had told her I had brought this very big notebook just with line notes everywhere, and I was freaked out how I'm not memorized for this day of filming. What am I gonna do? I haven't had the chance to go over this with Kiahni or whatever, and I just had random scribblings everywhere. And so I had told her, I was oh my god, I was so nervous for this day of filming. Ended up being completely fine. And she was why didn't you call Kiahni? Her mom said, and because she was in the same boat, and we were all just so I guess, in our heads about making sure this went off without a hitch. So just having that bonding moment of like, okay, we're both in the same boat. Like, we both are in the same mindset of like, we want this to turn out right. We want to make sure that we are doing what we can on our end to have everything prepared. But, you know, that it's still that nerve-wracking feeling. It's like, oh, I want this to be good. And not knowing that, okay, well, you're not the only person thinking that. You know, it's a shared experience.
Yeah.
So that really helped with our personal chemistry of just like, we're in the same boat, and like, we come from similar backgrounds too. Like, we're both Latinas, we're both in theater, we both went to the same school, and we were already in the same a cappella group too. So honestly, this project just like really put us like together.
Yeah, and it was really funny too, because when she showed me the notebook, she was like, "Look, girl, like I got all these notes highlighted and stuff." And then I'm like, I pulled out my notebook, and I'm like,
Really?
Yeah. And we were just dying laughing, and it was like a hilarious like connection like moment for us, because it was just really funny. But also, like, again, like, not feeling like alone, like, oh, like, we're in this together, like, we're really like doing this, like, this is crazy, because it's like, I think both our first film, like, experiences, like, our first feature film experiences.
Yeah.
So to experience it, like, not only, like, on our own, but, like, also, like, together and just having similar backgrounds and everything, it really does help a lot. Like, that, having that, like, friendship and that sisterhood really, really helps, for sure.
Yeah.
That's so cool. The sense of community that creative, I guess, areas provide is just really unique, in my opinion. And people can bring themselves and their thoughts and have the space to be creative and lift it up. So you brought up a point that Sean had pointed out to me, the idea of, you know, approaching this, but also, you know, as you said, your first feature length. I mean, so tell me a little bit, each of you, if you would, about what you did before that you said, okay, I'm going to draw on that to put into this.
Honestly, like, for me, I've done theater, like, throughout my life, like, middle school, high school, and stuff. But this was, like, one of the biggest opportunities for me, because not only was this my first feature film, but this was also something for the first time that I was going to be kind of, like, in the front, or, like, co-leading with, in a way. Like, having, a lead role, in a sense, if you will.
Sure.
And not that, like, lead roles are the most important thing in the world, but, like, growing up, it was really hard, especially the communities that I was in. You know, I suffered through a lot of, like, favoritism and, you know, also, like, racial things, too.
Oh, wow.
And it was just really, really hard for, like, someone like me, like, you know, with Latina background to, like, ever get really, like, a role or an opportunity. So to not only get this opportunity for the first time, but also to have that shared experience with someone else who's also Latina, and, like, we're doing this together, and it's, like, this is both our first feature thing. It really felt nice to not do it alone, in a sense. Like, I really, really enjoyed that, because for so long, like, growing up, I always kind of felt like alone in certain, like, communities and certain atmospheres when it came to doing acting in theater. So it was really, really hard growing up. But, like, now coming into it, like, it's just really been amazing, because throughout, like, growing up and stuff in theater, like, I never really got, like, any lead roles, or I didn't really get anything that would, like, really showcase my talent. And I feel like for the first time, like, there's something that I really want to do, which is, like, leaning towards more film, even though I still want to do theater, but, like, leaning towards more film is really what I want to do. And just to be able to showcase that for the first time in such a role like this, I'm just so over the moon and, like, appreciative about it, because it's just, like, I've never had this experience before. And, like, honestly, like, it was just about really trusting my own talent and trusting my gut, because I didn't really have anything to look back on for, or, like, anyone to look back on to, like, give me some advice or anything. Like, I just had to, like, do it myself, in a sense. So yeah, it was, like, a very big learning experience, for sure.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Did you have anything you wanted to?
Very similar to what Kiahni said. This was my first feature. I had done a short film before this, I think the year before, and that was, like, my very first film ever. And kind of similar to what Kiahni said, just not having that opportunity to put the whole of you in the forefront. You know, because I'm lighter, a lot of people just assume that, oh, she's, like, a white girl. And I've always straddled the line of, like, I'm too white to be Latina, but also too Latina to be white. So to have this role of it's just me, this is all that I am, and I'm putting it all in front of the camera, and just having the opportunity to represent my community within this character, and having another Latina co-star and having a story that's centered around that identity. That was a first for me, because I think before that I had only done one other production on stage that had some sort of connection with my background. And I never really had the opportunity to showcase that in an organic way, because oftentimes when people produce something for the stage or for the camera and they don't have that background knowledge, it tends to cross over into the world of stereotyping.
Sure.
And that's something I've always wanted to avoid. I don't want to be typecasted as the feisty Latina who always has some sassy mouth thing to say, like, where it's so much deeper than that. It's dehumanizing in a way to reduce someone because of their background, what their stereotype is. Because Latinas can have moments of vulnerability and being very genuine and being very soft. And having that kind of dexterity and flexibility between, you're a whole person. You're so much more than what people reduce you to in a stereotype. And so having that benefit of having a Latina character created by a Latino who's directing, and having, the chance to share it with someone who's also Latina in a co-star setting, also helps just not going through it alone. And I had a lot of reservations getting into it. I was like, I don't know if I'm prepared for this. I don't know if I can handle this. But I decided to stick through it, and I'm so happy I did, because I think I've grown a lot in terms of being an actor, but also getting to know myself through this character. I do think Mia as a character and myself have a lot of similarities, and just learning throughout this filming process, like, about myself and what I'm capable of as an actress, as well as the kind of stories that can be told about people that look like me, that are like me. There's so many opportunities for that to, like, in store for the future. So I'm really grateful that I stuck with it. And I also, like, grew an appreciation for being a film actress, which is something I didn't really know about before.
Thank you both so much. That's powerful. I can't. I can only learn from what I've heard you share. What that means to me in a couple ways. Number one, I certainly haven't had those experiences, but I could see. I mean, you guys are on the front, kind of pushing the envelope of recognizing and celebrating and creating opportunities for bringing everybody into the space. But Abby, so have you worked on other films?
Yes, I have worked on some small film projects
Okay.
in and outside of class during my college time.
Okay.
And I just completed a second assistant director role on the 48-hour film.
Oh, you did?
Yes, for the City of Greensboro competition.
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to do that this year, and I was out of town when they did it.
It was a phenomenal experience.
Oh, yeah.
Good for you. Yeah, my daughter Caitlin did that a couple years ago, and had a really good time. Was this your first 48 hours?
Yes.
Okay, that's something. That's like. So my thing is, I want to write. Like I want to get the ideas together, sit down and write and create that, because whoever writes, they don't have 48 hours. They've got to get that out by Saturday morning, right?
Yes.
So for people who don't know, what is 48 hours?
So the 48-hour film festival is where you have essentially 48 hours to write, shoot, and edit a short film. This year's competition for the City of Greensboro and other cities, that you get a certain genre that you pull out of a hat.
Right.
You get a specific prop, line, character, and occupation that you have to abide by. And it's about a 5 to 7 minute short film.
The creativity that goes into that, people with similar things and coming up with stuff. It's my friend Sam Young, who is my co-producer, co-writer, and all, he's done a few of those in Greensboro. And so I was really hoping, you guys just did the the screening for those, didn't you?
Yes, we did the first 3 groups went. For our group, we won Audience Choice Awards. County is in this as well.
You're in it?
Yes,
For the
she was
break.
in a film. Yes.
Oh, that is
Yeah.
cool. Can I see that?
Yeah,
Yes,
we can
yes.
show it
Oh,
to
that
you.
is so
Which
cool.
is another reason why Outerbound is just great, because like the connection I made through Abby and through
Yes.
Look at
Shalia.
that.
Shalia, yes.
We got
Yes.
connected with
Yeah.
our boom operator and Foley artist, Shalia Fuentes Matthews.
Yes.
Love
Okay.
Shalia. We
So,
love her.
Shout out Shalia.
she got us involved. She directed that. It's called Mushrooms. So it won the audience choice of the night.
I had to be careful when I went to Blackout. I was like, Sean, I'm over here, Sean.
Oh,
And,
my goodness.
There was just a lot of people. There was overwhelming in a good way.
no, you were so, and that's, is that where you met Busola?
Actually,
at the
yeah.
screening, yeah. Sam had met them, and they had connected with something, and Busola is doing the film school and done all kinds of stuff, and Asani also came over afterwards, but Busola was at the, what do you call that when you all go out and eat?
We called it an unofficial after party,
Yeah,
but
like
we
cast
went to a
members.
dinner after the screening to kind of just talk and reflect on everything and enjoy each other's company, because it was the first time in a while that a lot of us had been back together since filming. And Basola approached me and just introduced himself, and I, kept their information and wanted to give them an opportunity to work on another project with me, and luckily they said that they wanted to be involved, and I'm really happy that we made that connection,
Yeah.
because the chemistry on set of the crew has been absolutely awesome.
Absolutely. Love
Yeah.
Sola.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I do too. And so, Abby, you bring this experience to. You've got various opportunities that you've involved. You've worked in for photography and also with some behind the scenes in terms of video work and everything. And you met Sean, and then you learned about this film opportunity. And so what was it that came to your mind? Like, how did you see, as I asked Kiahni and Melissa earlier, how did you bring what you had worked on before to your first time on a full-length film?
Well, it took a combination of a lot of different roles and different capacities. I had done some live streaming at UNCG for the sports games to ESPN Plus. So the high pressure live, you only have one chance to get this right, kind of translated into the film set. So I was very organized and meticulous in that way, just based off of the experience of being in that type of situation. I've also done some live streaming opportunities as well with camera operation, technical directing, and I've done that in several different capacities now. I also, having experience in just starting out working young, honestly, and being like in a grocery store and doing audits on everything, and then being camp counselor and scheduling out the days and counting heads and getting contracts and making sure people are in right places and not losing things and stuff like that, to then working in marketing capacities with campaigns and scheduling things to a T and thinking of all the different things that come with that. So taking in all of that experience and translating that into having very detailed production schedules and shot lists and call sheets, and having people's phone numbers plugged into my phone in advance, and parking directions, and just thinking of everything. Okay, well, what if somebody gets sick or somebody gets hurt? Are we going to have stuff there to take care of that? Do we have enough pens? Do we have enough water?
Yeah.
Like everything.
Yeah.
So
That's
just
right.
making sure that you're very detailed and organized, and taking all that experience from previous several different job roles and capacities really helped with this role. This was my first assistant directing time too.
Yeah.
And we jumped right into it with a feature film. So it was a lot, and from the first day I was like, okay, first day I did it, I survived, I'm still here. Got it. Now I know what to expect, so I can get even more detailed and even better, and I came back every single day just even better with more plan, more strategic, more logistics every single day.
That's fantastic. I do not have that giftedness to do the logistics that you described. And one of the things I've noticed in interacting with you, Sean, is that you are very good at communicating and and doing so in a positive way. Even in the attention to detail, like everything about our meeting, our time, what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, staying on task. I mean, those are really important skills, I would think, for your role. Abby, in your role, I think I want to pause for a minute because even though I've immersed myself in the film, specifically North Carolina independent film, the last couple of years, the community, most people kind of think of a director. They kind of have that old vision of the director's chair and the megaphone or whatever. And acting, I mean, most people say, yeah, acting, I understand they're portraying characters and bringing a story to life. Assistant director, can you talk briefly about that?
Yeah. So with assistant directing, like I said, this was my first time doing it. So every single time that I have done it, I've gotten a different understanding of like what that is, and it kind of changes depending on what the set is too.
Okay.
But specifically for Outerbound, how I would describe it is like overall vision and people management.
Okay.
So I just oversee getting the shot list from Sean. So it's taking his vision and then executing that into what the schedule needs to be to get that done.
Okay.
So and we sit down and we do this together, or I outline it and send it over and we talk about it, read it out loud like a gajillion times to make sure that it makes sense. We also am like on maps figuring out how long it has to, that we need to have travel time for it too.
Okay.
And also count in bathroom time, like breaks and lunch, and just making sure everybody still gets their needs taken care of there. So with that, I do the production schedules and the call sheets, and then I send out an email.
Okay.
Or multiple emails. Is
Sure.
Text messages, too.
Yes, and text messages. Group text messages before with like, hey, don't forget, make sure you have this, 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 and this. And just making sure that we have good communication and we're on top of it. As soon as I forget, we all forget. So being very attention to detail and detail-oriented in this process. One of my biggest goals, too, whenever we're on set, is that everybody's hydrated and we're not going to have anybody pass out. As they all
That is
know.
really, that's gold.
Yes. So
She's literally come up to me and like put a water
Lifesaver,
bottle in front of me and been like, drink this, please.
Yeah. No,
Well,
I not to. No, I'm gonna say it because she deserves it. Abby has very much like go above and beyond for her role, and when I found out this was the first time assistant directing, I was like, What are you talking about? I don't believe you.
You're a pro.
I do think it does take a special set of skills to be an assistant director, and Abby has those skills tenfold. I truly think, me personally, I would not have survived without Abby, so I just wanted to give a special shout out to you.
Yeah. That's
there
great.
you go.
And that was one of the things, Sean, you had mentioned to me as we were preparing for this, is that the team that you brought together was so important to what you were doing. In other words, the film is very important. The result, what you want to do with it, but it's the people. And that's something that really connected with me personally. And so I was so glad to be able to have this opportunity to connect with you. Sean, just briefly, do you want to share a little bit about what you'd like to see in terms of the outcome of this film in light of what we just said? In other words, you've got, how many folks are involved? There's dozens of people.
A lot.
Yeah, a lot of people involved. And so you've got a lot of, people have invested this space and time to work with you on this project. And so they're all also looking at their careers.
Yeah.
What's the reality of that?
So I want a couple outcomes from this project. One, I definitely want this film to be a success, for it to be seen by a lot of people, especially in the context of film festivals. I want it to get the recognition it deserves for the hard work and talent that was put into it. And also from that, I do want to see, everyone who worked on it, their careers develop, or for, these relationships to kind of stay together, because I think we've slowly built this network and these friendships, and I think making, projects down the road will still be working together, and I want everybody to succeed in where they want their life to go, and I think this film is a good stepping stone, and it's your foot in the door, but also like I said, those friendships that we just made will also open doors to opportunities that we probably wouldn't have had if we hadn't met each other.
Yeah, that's great. And it's kind of neat to see the synergy and also to see, okay, you mentioned before, Sean, that this script was something that you and your friend Nathan had talked about, and you were working on something else, multiple things, according to everybody. You stay very busy, and that's good in terms of professional and everything. But everybody, you kind of, I think, in the creative community, you always kind of have to be looking for the next thing. When this ends, like I read about actors who do a pilot for a TV series and not quite sure it's going to get picked up or whatever. And I think it was maybe Alec Guinness for Star Wars, where he was like, yeah, I'm not so sure where this is going to go. I'm not going to commit to whatever. And then the show takes off and it's a hit. And all of a sudden, okay, we're in, And so where are you at with the production process?
So that's a very important and interesting question. Since this is our first time making a feature, there's a lot that goes into it. There's getting all the resources together. There's planning all the pre-production. There's, gathering funding and investors and sponsors. And right now we took this summer to create a proof of concept of this piece. We're not done yet. We still have a little over half the movie to film. But what we were able to accomplish this summer is a little over 40 minutes worth of footage, and that's 40 minutes edited down.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we've shot like almost half the movie in 5 days.
Really?
Yeah, 5 production days.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So
insane.
it's definitely something that I'm proud of, and I think that the team should celebrate and be proud of. But we are absolutely open to new brand partnerships, new sponsors, investors, anybody who even just wants to support the arts and support alumni, support females in the filmmaking industry, as well as just first time filmmakers. I think we have a lot of those demographics involved, and I think the only way anything happens is with funding.
Sure.
So we would love to see this project become a success. So the plan is to work on building those relationships and those connections, so that way by May of next year we can all come back together and shoot the rest of it. as a
Okay.
team.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's important. There's a lot of moving parts, and most everything costs money. I was surprised just for the little project that we worked on. When we went over $1,000, it was like we don't have. Where's this? My wife's like, "What exactly do you need for this movie?" And I was like, "Well, we just need one more thing," And it really does add up. So when you say, I think you said sponsors, is that what I heard? Like,
Yeah.
Are you talking about, you've got 3 executive producers, is that right?
Yes.
So far? And so you're looking at getting some folks. And will you be doing any perks, any like signed posters or scripts or anything like that?
Yeah, we've built some perks packages that we would love to offer up to anybody that wants to be a potential partner. And we do have a Linktree account that will have access to that information for Outerbound.
Yeah, and I want to go ahead, and this is unscripted, unsolicited, and possibly unwelcome, but I don't think so. I was really impressed, Sean, with how much you celebrated everybody involved with Blackout and throughout the Outerbound production. Anybody who's looking to invest in people, who's looking to invest in arts and creativity, looking to invest in North Carolina, the film industry, which is just really going to be catching on more and more. If you want to be a part of something that you can feel really good about, I would suggest you strongly consider investing in Outerbound, investing in the people who are here, who have committed to this and put so much into it, so much energy, so much creativity, so much of their time and effort, and really put themselves into this. If you do that, you will see a return. And Sean is fantastic about celebrating that in a way. So, whatever it is that motivates you, anybody who's listening to this, find your motivation, whatever it is, but whatever you do, go on Linktree and connect with the Outerbound film and help them realize this goal, because this is something that, quite frankly, is going to make an impact in the community. And that's part of what you're doing too. You guys had you were telling me before about some of the locations when you guys reached out, and you had a coffee shop, a bakery. I'm sorry?
A cafeteria that we were filming into, different types of locations. Yeah.
I mean, and that's a big deal to go around. I had to go and ask a restaurant owner, would you please let us use your restaurant for 3 days? And it's like, what? So you're celebrating community and all that. I want to talk a little bit more about the characters, if we could here, and how you connected with them. As I was reading the script, there are two very different characters, but yet there's a friendship.
Yeah.
All right. When you read the script, what was it about your character that stood out to you? You said, I can really connect, either not because I see myself in this character, but because I know somebody, or this is a story that needs to be told.
There's this line that Mia says, and she says, I just love being busy. So that is very much how I am as a person. So Mia as a character, she's very hardworking, she's very determined, she has this fire in her, and she knows what she wants. But she doesn't have necessarily the support system to back her up, so she has to be her own support system, and therefore she's going to school, and she's doing the thing that she wants to do with her life, like she's acting, she's doing her career, and then she's also trying to balance everything and make sure nothing topples over. And that is exactly how I am as a person, with the exception of I do have, very fortunately, a very good support system with my family and my friends. And honestly, my community has just been extraordinarily beneficial with me progressing as a person and in my career. But with Mia, she doesn't have that opportunity. So I related to her a lot with having that fire and going after the things that you want, whether you have a support system or not. And just going the extra mile, because no one's coming to save you, so you have to be the one to save yourself sometimes. And if anyone's going to make it happen, if there's something that you want in your life, no one's going to make it happen for you. There's no fairy godmother, there's no magical genie that's going to give you whatever you want if you just, click your heels 3 times. Like, you're going to have to work for the things that you want. Nothing comes easy in this life. Nothing is given to you, nothing is promised. So I think that is Mia's entire mindset as a character of, I have to be the one to fight for the things that I want, whether that's her career or even with her relationships with her love interest in the movie with Patrick. She has to open up, and she has to find that softness within herself outside of this wall that she's built up. I have to fight for the things that I want. I have to do the things that I want to do, and no one really understanding what I have to go through. So I don't really have time for anything else. And just opening herself up to the potential, like, oh, maybe I can pursue a relationship, or I can feed the friendships that I do have and manifest them in a healthy, positive way. So just reading the complexities of her character, I was just really drawn to it, and I found a lot of ways to relate to her and her personality and how she has her view of life.
Thank you so much. That is really illuminating. And I think that folks who watch the film and come back and listen to this podcast after the film as well, listen to it first, but then come back and listen to it, I think you'll get a lot of depth out of this. Maybe put together a post end credit thing that you can tap on the end for the director's cut.
Oh, yeah.
So how about you?
So for me, it was actually the complete opposite.
Wow.
So,
okay.
For me, Barbara, I connected with her mostly on, like her mental things going on in her mind, the challenges that she was facing internally. But as far as, how she interacts with the other characters and, the other people in the film is definitely not how I would interact with her.
Interesting, okay.
Because Barbara is, her personality is a bit more passive-aggressive, and she'll like say a certain thing that's like snappy, but like she doesn't really realize how she's wording things or how she's saying it to someone, and like she'll come off like very rude and off-putting, but like she doesn't think in her own mind like, oh, like, that's just me, that's just how I speak, that's like how I think. So for me it was a bit challenging, and for this to be like my first like major like role, it was definitely a lot of like definitely a learning experience, and definitely a lot of just like diving into, okay, looking back at my life experiences, because I've definitely interacted with people who were like this, because my character Barbara, she's more like she actually has a support system, or like she has like in the film like her father's like helping her fund for like, you know, that financial stability, but she's still complaining and still being like, oh, like, you know, woe is me, like, oh man, like I'm just saying, it's so hard depending on my dad. But, like, really, like, she has, like, all the support that she needs. Like, I don't understand. Like, girl, like, you know, so it's just, it's really funny. But, like, I look at, my, like, my life experiences, and I know, okay, like, I can picture, like, this person like that or this person like that.
Okay.
And so, like, definitely, like, having those experiences and keeping that in mind helped me a lot with this role. And also, like, there is moments where I do see myself in Barbara in terms of like the anxieties and like the things that she goes through mentally, where like sometimes you're not really aware of like how you're perceived, or being perceived in general is just like really like a crazy thing. So it's like understanding how the way she thinks and how she is perceived and how she doesn't really want to be perceived, and then how she interacts with other people and other characters. It's just really, really interesting. So yeah, for me it was a bit challenging, because I like, as far as personalities go, like, I don't feel as though, like, we have similar personalities, but it was really, really interesting finding, okay, like, different experiences that I connect to, and, like, how I could use those experiences and in tune with that, and, like, creating this character and this world for this character. So, yeah, that was a bit of a challenge, but honestly, it was really fun, and having this as, my first role was really, really fun, because I'm like, okay, if I could do this, like, if I can, like, challenge myself to be somebody and that's the whole point of acting, right? You're being someone that you're, like, technically not. So, like, having that, like, that no relation helped in the end anyway. Mm-hmm. So I think it was really, really beneficial and, like, helpful.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Reading the script is one thing, and I'm glad to do that. I don't know that I'd recommend reading the script before watching every movie. Some people say, like, you know, is the book better? Is the movie better? And all that. I definitely like the script. I'm looking forward to seeing it. But now hearing what you guys have described in terms of your approach to the characters, that's really going to inform, I think, how I watch this, because I'll be seeing part of that. If you could, each of you, like, do you have a 3 to 5 year, like, okay, here's where I want to be. I want to be doing this. And if so, are you comfortable sharing it in this environment? So any of you?
John, you want to go first?
I definitely, you know, one of my long-term and short-term goals are you know, kind of, as you said, to do what I love to do and have my passions be my occupation. And luckily, that is coming true very slowly. Every year and every few years, I build on that dream. And right now, I have the privilege of being able to photograph and film things for a living. And that opportunity has opened up my creativity. And that's why I have the energy and the will to make projects like this, which is what I ultimately want to do in my long-term plan, is to be a film director in Hollywood. And so as I work on these projects, hopefully they get recognition, hopefully they get seen in the right contexts to help keep paving that path towards that dream.
Absolutely. Anybody else care to?
My long-term goal is just to be involved and stay involved in creation. So as long as I'm doing that, I'm happy. And whatever that ends up looking like.
That's great.
And that's it.
Honestly, I recently just graduated, so but ever since I've graduated, like I've been like getting myself involved in doing this film, and also doing the 48-hour project was really amazing too. So just getting on my feet and doing as much as I possibly can. I mean, honestly, I'm just open to any opportunity that, piques my interest, But yeah.
Okay.
Same. I just love doing what I do for a living. I plan to move to New York sometime within the next 2 years.
Okay.
Yes, shout out New York. And my long-term ultimate goal is to be on Broadway. My goal is to be the first Venezuelan American actress to win a Best Tony Award, a Best Actress Tony, because there are very few Latinos who have won a Tony Award. I think there's 12 of them in total, and none of them have been from Venezuela, and I very much rep my country as any opportunity that I can, and having that kind of representation for back home is extremely important to me. So the ultimate goal is to be the next Best Actress Tony Award winner, representing Venezuela up until the moment I get that award in my hand. But in the meantime, I still want to do musical theater. I would love to do a TV series, and do more voiceover work. I actually did my first voiceover opportunity through Sean with Blackout. I got to do the Spanish voiceover for the trailer.
Really?
Yeah. So
How cool is that?
I was so excited to do that, and being bilingual is something I'm very proud of, and being able to speak Spanish and use that in my craft, I want to be able to do that in every opportunity that I get. So honestly, I want to do stage and film and commercial and voiceover, and if of those opportunities, the more that I can do representing my culture, whether it's doing more stage adaptations or plays or musicals that are focused on a Latino identity or an experience, doing characters that are multifaceted and still showcase that part of their identity, and talking about those kinds of stories that do need to be told from a Latino standpoint, that's the ultimate goal. So if I can do that on my way to the long-term goal, it's perfect.
Well, I certainly don't want to cut into your schedules. I do have a couple kind of wrap-up questions, if that's okay. But, Sean, I want to leave it open to anything that you would like to discuss.
The only thing I really want to say is one of the things I try to do every time I make a movie is not just make a good movie, but I like to think about what the production's going to be like. What is that experience of all the people putting that together is going to be like? And on Blackout, I was all about, I just want everybody to have a good time, have a good experience, so that way we would form connections that would last us a long time. And I was surprised at how well the networking of that came to fruition. On Outerbound, I wanted to take it a step further, and I wanted to make sure that my leads did represent the Latinx community. I wanted to make sure that I was conscious of the rest of the cast having diversity and being inclusive. And then that also bled over into my mission for the crew, which was to have as many female filmmakers and as many students or even just, people who had just graduated, somebody who hasn't really worked on that many professional opportunities in film to get like the chance to work on something professional, to work on something big, because I know where I've been and I'm still working to get where I want to be, and it's not always easy to get those opportunities. So I wanted to make sure to present that in a way that was accessible.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing that. It is difficult to break through in the creative vocation, I think, at times, because there's a lot of people who feel called to that. So there's a lot of hard work. That's one thing I've come to really appreciate. Whether creating the story, bringing the story to life, bringing the story to share with other people through the crew, through the cast, through the writing, through the production, any of that kind of stuff. There's a lot that goes on, and so. I celebrate you guys, and I thank you, and I appreciate you sharing your time with me today. It will be exciting for me to watch and to root for you. And I think that what you're doing, and not just making a film is cool in and of itself, but to do it the way you're doing it for the reasons that you're doing it and try to celebrate and share the community, I think is outstanding. And I think, quite frankly, you guys are really, really making history as we speak. So I'm very grateful for your time and for your interest, and I wish you all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having
Appreciate
us.
you so much.
You're welcome.